Hi everybody, it's me again. I'm gonna try to get this video up. Basically what I'm gonna do in this video, or hope to do without making it extra long and so forth. I want to start kind of from the beginning of what started all this, and that's gonna bring me up to the other videos I want to make. And it's the only way I want to do it or know to do it, because I got some people that don't really know what transpired that got us to where we're at with all the corruption and wrongdoing I'm trying to bring out. All right, so I'm gonna ramble a little bit, get this video up, and then I've got where I want to single out some scenarios within this, and then I'll get them videos up separately, and maybe we can keep them down to a lesser time frame, make it a little more easy to watch. I mean, even myself, 31 minutes on that last video is what it is. If it takes me to do them that long, then I'm going to take however long it takes. But I want to make something real clear in this. My motivation here is not really to, I'm not going to say bash anybody. My motivation here is to get the public aware of the people that's in office that we cannot trust and cannot count on. There's public elections coming back up in the coming months, going into the same time the presidential election. Some of these people involved in this are going to be on those ballots for our local elections. Some of them are in office now in one spot, and they might be seeking to move up into other spots. So I want to make sure that people are aware of who these people are and what they've done. And if people want to reach out to me, and we got some stuff we can put with this that makes it credible, reach out to me, please. There's some things going on, and the more stuff I have, the better off I am. But I want facts. I want you to back it up with proven stuff. That's what my stuff's based on, is facts. And like I said, I want to get everybody up to speed on what started us where we were and what got us to here. And then I'll start making more videos to explain my scenarios with each instance, such as the fire, such as the writ of sequestration, if I can say that right, that was put on our building and our cells to keep us locked out of our building, which resulted in what it resulted in. Okay, so let me get started here. So prior to the 11/10 incident with me and Mr. Tipton, and like I said, this ain't about me and the Tiptons at this point. This is about me exposing the corruption and the wrongdoings that's going on in these public offices. Okay, and yes, I am coming after people for their wrongdoing. So yes, that is what I'm doing. But this really isn't about me trying to throw anybody under the bus. Most of this stuff's done been said. It's not a personal matter as far as me trying to be personal conflict with these individuals. Okay, it's just me bringing it out to the public. And if they can't handle the truth and they don't want to get together and figure out a way to talk about it and make it where the public can see it and be transparent like I am, that's on them. They can go to Shelby County today like they normally do, or whatever they want to do, whatever these politicians do to try to save face in the public eye. I need these videos to get out, man. A lot of folks don't have the YouTube or don't know what it's really all about. If you see my views and you think I'm being truthful and this is important to you, please, please, please share these things with your families, man. I mean, with your friends, your families, even if you don't have the same views as them, share them with them. Get them informed. We can only make a change if we all stand together. That's my whole point to this, okay? So prior to all the situation, us and the Tiptons were no issues. The only issues we ever really had was mild and minor. This all started again over barking dogs. I have the proof in that, the paper. This all started over barking dogs, okay? And in my mind, theoretically, this all came to a head because when I first moved in there, my services were needed. And as their lives changed and they decided to move home and their children were deciding to move home, maybe their need for me become less existent, and other opportunities were out there to, if we weren't in the way, maybe for family to live there, or possibly rent it out for some actual money, where I was doing more of a farm labor, farmhand, ranch type of guy for my rent, But it was a verbal agreement on that, okay? That was presented to me through them. I didn't approach them for this. It came to me through them, okay? So with that being said, it all started over us getting removed because the barking dogs is what stemmed it, which led to the 11/10/21 situation where I filed a police report on Donde for pulling a firearm on me, which he did. I've stated it numerous times. I'm not going to get into that. Had a hard time corroborating that because it's his word against mine. Although even in mine and Mr. Constable Tipton's videos, which I'm going to try to get uploaded to my my YouTube account as well, he clearly states in there that his uncle pulled a gun and put it on the console, which it didn't go from there to the console. It went from there to me, then to the console after I made some comments I made. So that was 11:10. 11:15, Constable Josh Tipton. At this time, me and him weren't on bad terms of any kind, so it wasn't no big deal. He actually come to our shop there at in town at the commercial deal there, and he served us the first eviction for the house and the shop. Okay. 11:16, which was a day later, there was an altercation at my house that was talked about before as well, where Mr. Tipton come over late at night, supposedly looking to pick up a trailer that has 4 flat tires at 9 o'clock at night. What really happened there really stemmed from a Facebook post a friend of mine made about deer hunting and dogs, and me and my buddies were poking back and forth, and this was seen by them, and it obviously disturbed them or made them mad, and that's what provoked the altercation that night. Don't let nobody fool you no different, okay? I'll get into that altercation and stuff more later if necessary, but right now I'm gonna leave that alone, okay? And then on 12/14, we were looking for attorneys, okay? So we had tried to get this stuff into JP court and so on and so forth. There was some things wrong with the filings, and basically it wasn't going in the plainest way at the time, and they were having a hard time with it. And we weren't really trying to be jerks. I mean, this could have been solved a lot easier, and we could have come to some mutual agreements, I think, on when to move out. We'd already made plans to start moving out when the stolen equipment was put there prior, that we knew we were in a bad situation, and we'd already started making plans. We'd done purchased a cabin shell to turn into our own home on property that my family owns. So there was never no intentions of me living out my life on the property we were on or anything, okay? So during all this, we started trying to find attorneys because we need an attorney. I mean, we're pretty, JP Court, if you do your diligence, there's a lot of stuff you can represent yourself with in there, and that's what we were doing. And then things started getting a little more technical, so we started reaching out to attorneys, and we were having a hard time because obviously it's a small community. They had reached out for attorneys, so we were having a hard time finding somebody that wasn't biased or per se, or didn't have notice of what was going on. So it was complicated for us at first. So I on 12/14, I believe this is when I may have some of this off. I believe somewhere in that area, roughly in that area. I don't remember the exact date. I'm trying to get my phone records right and compare the phone numbers I called. But I'd reached out to Paul Anderson, which is the plaintiff's attorney now. And I was trying to seek his services. I was going to try to hire him because at the time, things had done got a little more in depth with everything, and got in depth with me and Constable Tipton, where I'd asked him to please recuse himself, and he just couldn't keep from putting his nose in it. And this has all been hashed. I'm not throwing fingers at him right now. It's not my intentions. But I had reached out to Paul Anderson because at the time, Paul Anderson was representing another gentleman by the name of Clory Glenn Rowland in the situation that happened at the Nacogdoches Sheriff's Office, okay? Forgive me for my stuttering tonight. I'm tired. I've been working on this stuff all day long. I got a ton of papers in front of me, and I'm trying to make it short and sweet, get everybody up to date. I reached out to Mr. Anderson, spoke to his secretary, gave her a rundown of everything that was going on with me and the Tiptons, and thought, considering he had a case at the time going where Josh was Constable Tipton was a defendant or whatever in this, I was hoping, scratch my back, I scratch yours maybe, and get a good attorney out of the deal. All right, so that's what led me to reaching out to Paul Anderson. And there's a reason why I'm making this public. This isn't really about the situation with Josh at this point, okay? I believe we'll come to that part later, okay? So around that time, I reached out to him for that. So on 12/15, we were supposed to have a court date on the original eviction at JP Court, and it was getting real close to the time. I got to look back in these papers. I'm trying to avoid all that. But on 12/15, Dondi and Donna Tipton had dropped the JP case for eviction, which we found odd. And obviously the reason being was, you'll see in a minute, that they were going to try to move this to the district court, okay? 12/16, Constable Tipton comes and talks to Shane Shriver at his house, then comes to my house to talk to me. And then me and him had our little altercation on the videos most have seen. I will get them uploaded to YouTube so people that hadn't seen them on my Facebook can see them on YouTube. And I'll let you watch them and make your assessment. It was a touch and go situation with me and him. It started off poorly. It got better as we went. And at this point, I'm still directing to Constable Tipton that, you know, I do respect him. I do respect what he does. I just didn't appreciate the way he clearly is defending his family. And as things went on, he continued in a capacity to support his family more than he supported his constituents and his job and the people that were right, okay? So we'll get into that. That'll be a video I'm going to make. You know, like I said, I have people I want to talk about on this. I'm going to continue to do so. I want the right people in office. I want us as citizens to go and make the right decisions at the polls. At least know we tried, okay? I mean, it is what it is. We watched an election get stolen in a presidential race. So, you know, if it can be done there, maybe it can be done here. I don't think so. But just we need to be diligent about who we're voting for. The same day on that 12/16 that me and Constable Tipton had the verbal disagreement that, you know, went south and north and south and north at my house. At this point, like I said, me and Constable Tipton weren't earning no odds, okay? He actually went and spoke to his grandmother, and he called me over to his office, and we spoke, and we sat down with Mr. Tracy Broadway as a witness, and come to the understanding that the eviction stuff was to be put on hold. It was the holidays. That, you know, we want to get through the holidays with our families, and as far as the house part of it went, we were good there, and until I could get some answers on how long it's going to take to start getting my cabin livable and stuff, because I gave Josh my word that once I could get my money figured out and everything, we would try to get the cabin at least where I could get moved into it and get us out of the property over there, okay? We were trying to cooperate and be cooperable in the situation with moving out of the house, okay? So at that point, things were good. We were going to rehash the business building side of it, the commercial building side of it, later after the first of the year, okay? That was on 12/16 of 21. 1/12 of 22, fast forward through the holidays, Miss Beth, which is Dondi's mother, had dropped by our shop and brought us a letter to increase our rent, $350 a month, I believe it was. We spoke. She did this to try to intervene because obviously me and Dondi were at odds and we couldn't communicate with one another, so we were at a stalemate there, okay? During that visit, we discussed some things with Miss Beth. I told her I wasn't opposed to the rent increase, but if that was the case, we're going to need a new contract, a new lease, and some stipulations that was in the first lease that was keeping the rent where it was at were going to be changed. And she said she would look into it, and we discussed some insurance situation because they were saying there was no insurance on the building or whatever. We didn't have insurance. We did have insurance as far as we could take it with ours. We are not the owners of the building, so we could not have structural insurance per se. And I think there was some miscommunication there. They thought they could. They thought we could. I tried to explain we couldn't, but we had our general liabilities, shopkeepers, stuff like that we had to cover the other part of it. Okay. Neither here nor there. It didn't matter. Everything was kind of laid back. We were waiting to hear back from her, and during that time, unfortunately, they had some sickness in their family with a loved one, and we didn't want to cause no friction there, so we left it be, and was waiting to see how things went. And you know, everybody knows that situation, okay? Obviously, on 129 is when Mr. Tipton was having an altercation in my front yard, where I was living in the property that belonged to the Tipton family per se. And that's when the altercation happened across the road with my neighbor's wife, and so on and so forth. And that's the video I posted the other day with me being profane in the front yard because he was running for commissioner, and he made some comments to her that I didn't approve of. And when he made the comment to her that wait till he gets commissioner, or however he said, I have to go back to be sure how it was said because it wasn't my words, that's what struck me and made me come out later on that evening in a big video about everything that went on with him and the stolen equipment and those things, okay? And during the time on the 11/16 when the altercation happened, I also brought to light that night that there was a stolen truck involved that nobody got. Sheriff's Department didn't get it. It was disappeared, and that's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get into some of that stuff because some of this stuff is still ongoing investigations, and so on and so forth like that. I'm not going to jeopardize any of that. I've made promises to people I wouldn't, and I'm going to try my best not to without conflicting my story, okay? All right, so fast forward 1/31/22. I'm at the shop having a day. I get a call, and it says Paul Anderson. So naturally, hey, baby, I get excited. You know, I'm thinking this man's calling me back. He wants to hear what I got to say because of the other situation. Things are fixing to turn. We're going to have a attorney that, you know, thank God to this day I didn't hire him because I couldn't even, I couldn't even let this man represent me because he's just, anyway, we want to get into that right now. That's a video that's coming. Needless to say, he called to inform me he was employed by the Tiptons. There was a customer in the shop at the time that heard the phone call. If at any point we ever need to go into that or do a subpoena or something, we will. But he was very, I don't even have a word to say for it. I'm not going to say belligerent. We're going to say bullying, and I'm not wanting to get bullied too much. So obviously y'all know me. I'm going to say what I got to say, and that's how that transpired. And like I said, he wasn't reaching out to me to help me. He was reaching out to me because he was employed by the other side. Okay, so fair enough, done and over with. 2/9/22. So this is where we get the eviction served for the district court. This is what the purpose of this was to move it from JP court, where they weren't having much luck, to district court. Now, looking back and finding out what I think I know now, what I've tried to point out in the video the other night, is the connections in the district courts, why they wanted the district court, obviously, okay? And at that point, that happened, and then, you know, we start looking around. We're trying to get an attorney employed, blah, blah, blah. Cause we, you know, I'm not going to be able to go to district court and represent myself, obviously. And I should have now, because looking back, Rafferty wanted no part of what my attorney had to do, and we'll get into that here in just a second. 2/24, Paul Anderson come into my shop, because at this point, I'm not sure if we had employed our attorney. I don't really remember. I have to look back at this. I'm trying to still gather some records. But he come in the shop, and I wasn't there. Just my wife was there, and actually, thank God, my mom and my stepdad were there visiting with my wife. And he come in and tried to be typical what we've learned as Paul Anderson now, and he wanted to, yeah, he was kind of soft-spoken, but he was kind of bullying still, and then it's my wife on top of that. If I'd have been there, the scenario probably would have been different, and I probably would have gotten in a lot of trouble that day. But he come in trying to kind of throw his powers around like he was somebody, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said, asked my wife, did she trust him? She said no, and he said, well, I'll just leave. And that was great. And then when she left, she told him to file the paperwork he needed to file and leave us alone. After that, I got quite a few text messages between me and Mr. Anderson where he's trying to bully me again, and those have been put to the right places. And we actually filed some injunctions, some grievances at one point with him, against him, and there's other stuff followed and still more coming, okay? Let's see where we're at here. 3/3/22. So 3/3/22 is when all these stuff started with these restraining orders and stuff, okay, the TRO and stuff, because at this point I done come out vocal. I'm making videos. I'm trying to put the public knowledge out there that people do not need to elect Mr. Tipton for commissioner, because obviously his morals from other things that were brought out to light earlier in the year, and the situation with the stolen equipment and stuff, just I didn't feel like the man was quality to represent us as a commissioner. I mean, commissioners are in charge of a lot, and I've said that numerous times. So, you know, this is what we're looking at. So let me just kind of go through this a little bit, okay? This is the order of dismissal from the JP court on their behalf. Here's the rent increase thing that was brought to us that, like I said, we weren't opposed to. If we could have got on with it and got it right and everything. And I think if us and Miss Beth would have continued handling this, it would have been fine. But considering things got hairy in their family with the elder Mr. Tipton, that she wasn't able to keep communicating with us. And then me and Dondi, of course, got into it again. So at that point, Dondi decided it was time to go to district court with the eviction thing, and him and Paul Anderson, yada, yada. So now we're to the temporary restraining order. And okay, so the purpose of this, and this is how this all went about. This was a temporary restraining order, and getting ready to set the hearing for it. And this is what they were trying to do. They were trying to silence me, and it worked. I'm looking back now. I wished I would have just, I wished I wouldn't even have let this bother me, but because my attorney advised me otherwise and stuff, I did, and it shut me down for a while, okay? Now this thing was supposed to be a mutual order, okay? So now here we go. This is on 3-3. And then let me see. I'm trying to look at my notes and look at my papers too. But the purpose of this was, just, like I said, to silence me, okay? So that's the restraining order, TRO. Now, with that coming on 3/11, okay? We're getting some more of the intense stuff here. On 3/11, my attorney had submitted some filings and had reached out to Mr. Anderson that due to the nature of the deeds and stuff on the property at the residential location, that the eviction papers they filed were pretty much null and void because there's a trust there, and Donald Tipton and Donna Tipton are the remaindermen on the trust, and I'm going to try to break it down the best I can, as simple as I can, whereas Miss Beth and Mr. Harvey were the actual trust people, okay? So until they had passed and gone, they still enjoyed all the rights and, you know, the privileges of the property, okay? So in reality, the eviction would have had to come from them to us, not from Donald and Donna, okay? So that was sent out on, I believe it says 3/11. So that would have been Friday. That's Friday-ish, okay? So now here we fast forward. This is where it gets a little emotional for me, all right? So we fast forward to Saturday, which will be the 12th, I'm thinking, and early morning hours of 3/13 is when the house fire took place, okay? I'm not going to get into a lot of that. I will say at one point, one of my employees was approached by Donald Tipton prior, and we have affidavits and stuff here, and things of that nature. And in this person's testimony here about what transpired that day between him and Mr. Tipton, I'm not going to read it all, but at one point, Mr. Tipton states to my employee that if he needs a job once they run us off and everything, that he's got one, and let the mechanic know he's got one as well. But what concerned me that day was in the statement my employee left that I wasn't aware of previously. He said, then Mr. Tipton, and I'm saying he said, I'm referring to y'all now, Mr. Tipton said, they going to move out of my structures one way or another. And I'm going to leave that at that, okay? So, 3/13, early morning hours. Looking back now, we have timelines. I don't know exactly what time I woke up 100%. I know we called 911 at 3:53 and we were out of the house, okay? The house was on fire. When I woke up, there was smoke in my bedroom. I'm 6'2" approximately. Most ceilings are relatively 8 foot, and the smoke hit me about my nose, so I'm guessing it was 2 foot off the ceiling. So the fire had obviously been burning for a few before I woke up and got a whiff of the smoke like I did and seen it in the room, okay? And I'm going to leave that at that. As that morning progressed, most of us know that here we go with the arson claims and throwing the names, and you know, we took the high road on that, and we just decided to make a small post. I made a small post about this. I'm gonna kind of just skip over this, and I'll come to the fire thing later, okay? But the house caught on fire early morning hours at 3:13, and this is where all this other stuff starts getting real hairy, okay? So at that point, we at the advice of the SO and as well as our attorney, my wife and I seeked refuge out of town, okay? Not far out of town, as is being told in some of the narratives here, but we were told to seek refuge elsewhere to where we could feel safe, okay? Because at this point, and like I said, I'll get into it later, some wrongdoing was suspected, obviously on our part, obviously on their part, and we did what we thought was safe for us, okay? So that's that. And then on 3/14, which is right there, okay, the Tiptons reach out to Rafferty with their attorney. This is where we get into this protective order thing that she issued. Shame, 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 as I said. And that's where the protective order come in, okay? And I've beat that pretty good the other night. Everything here, I was just in her courts, and her name's all over everything here. And No diligence to anything on her part, okay? This is their stuff, protective orders, which is supposed to be mutual, so that means nobody's supposed to be doing certain things like moving things and doing things like that, okay? And we're going to get into that more later. So, like I said, I'm just trying to give you a little insight of what's coming up. And I'm going to hit these, and I'm going to try to get them out there as fast as I can so everybody can stay up to date on what's going on. I need everybody to share this. Reed, 1973 Reed on YouTube. Trying to get back to my paper here. So, protective order signs on 314. 316, my wife and I and my attorney come to the sheriff's department in the morning hours to give our statements and so forth on the house fire and sit down with investigators and try to be cooperative to get to the bottom of what happened, okay? We were served with the protective order at the sheriff's office, fine and dandy. Like I said, there's some conflict in here of what they stated. We fled the state and abandoned the building and just was going to leave everything we owned in the building that was our business, you know, our whole livelihood was just going to leave it. So finally, after a little while, we were able to get back to the property. I'm not certain on our dates we have here. We know it's pretty accurate for the most part. It was 2 or 3 weeks before we were ever even able to step back on the scene because they were just out there rummaging, doing what they wanted to do. There's crime scene tape up. We're being told to stay out of it, but they're in it every day. And I said, we'll get into that. 325, after some court things and so forth, we were able to get our travel trailer and stuff out of the house. At the time the agreement was made, Constable Tipton was supposed to be the one to come unlock the gate because Dondi and his family or whoever was going to be going out of town. And so I arrived that morning. I gave my 1.5 to 2 hour notice I was supposed to give as were asked by me by the judge. I reached out to Josh Tipton, Constable, about the gates being open, and I've probably still got some text messages, and I'll get them later. However I need to do it. It's just hard to get that stuff loaded up. And when we got there, the front gate was dummy locked, so I assumed Josh had come and unlocked them and left them where we could get in, right? But when I got to the second set of gates, where my travel trailer stuff was behind and the stuff I was supposed to be removing from the property that day, that gate was locked, and Mr. Donald Tipton was still on the property, okay? So obviously he didn't go nowhere. So now we're there. I'm under a protective order, right? They're fearing for their lives, and I'm going to kill them. But they're not cooperating with what the court told them to do, you know, and we're going to get into this more later, but that's kind of how that went. So that day we were finally able to get some stuff done, and, you know, I don't know if they changed their plans or what, but they were definitely on scene, and Constable Tipton called me, and I was trying to talk to him about how to get in and what to do and what his uncle was doing back there in the back, and he more or less wanted to talk to me about the protective order and how he wasn't scared to arrest me, and I pretty much made it clear. And I do have a recording of this. We're trying to locate it. Some things got moved around in some phones, and we had to replace some phones recently. But he was more hell-bent on trying to tell me that he was prepared to arrest me if I broke the protective order, and I think I pretty much laid it down, if I can find the video, and I hope I can, that I'm not there to start no trouble. I was just there to get my stuff and get the hell off that property because I didn't want to be involved with these people anymore. None whatsoever. I mean, and I made it clear that as long as this uncle kept his distance from me and didn't come assault me, that there would be no assault. You know what I mean? And like I said before, I maintain my innocence about any threats made. I'm not a threatening guy. I don't threaten people. I just say who I am. 331. So at 331, now we're looking at this stuff where you get out of these protective orders, and we jump into this writ of sequestration stuff I spoke of. Okay, so they filed the application for it on. Let me look here and see if I can figure out what the date of service was on this. Anyway, we'll get all these details worked out as I make my other videos, because I'm gonna discuss these in detail, each one of them. And it doesn't really state on here exactly. It was looks like March 16th or 17th. But anyway, they filed the motion for the writ of sequestration, for the application for the writ of sequestration, which would lock us out of our shop, basically, where we can't get our stuff. Okay, so that's that. And then here on the, looks like the 20th, I believe. Let me look through here. I'm trying to look at all my notes. 331, this is when the sheriff's department went and taped the doors. And, you know, basically the doors was locked with our key because we had the keys. And they just taped it up to make it sort of like a crime scene, basically. It wasn't supposed to be a crime scene, but that's what tape they used. And they put it on the door to let us know we're not supposed to enter anymore, okay? So at this point, I can't get to none of my stuff. I couldn't even get to our stuff to pay our bills and things like that because of this nonsense that she signed off on, which was retarded. And we'll say we're going to break into this more, and I'm going to make more video about it. I've already got a 30-minute video I didn't want to have again. On 420, the TRO became an injunction, so it became a little more permanent until this situation played itself out totally, okay? Finally, after some things and some court stuff, on 420, the TRO become a injunction and the writ was dissolved. So on 420, we were actually able to get the tape removed from the door, and we were allowed to begin to remove our stuff from the shop, and we only had so much time to do this, okay? 5-1, we had to be out of the shop by 6 p.m. per Rafferty's court, okay? And we kind of agreed on the times, and I knew I could do it in that amount of time, so it wasn't no problem. We just, like I said, at this point, we wanted to be rid of this family, rid of this scenario, and on with our lives because we were trying to move it to another location and get reopened, okay? 5-2, we went back to court. I believe Donna or Dondi, maybe, I don't remember, both of them went on the stand, and so on and so forth. So remember, we're under temporary injunction, and nothing's supposed to be moved or done anything with until this stuff's clear, right? But they get on there, and I'm going to go into more detail on this, but we went back to court, and a couple of, them took the stand and was speaking on some things, and some of our stuff had disappeared from the fire scene, cast iron skillets and things like that were sentimental to us. Guns that burn up that were sentimental to me, passed down, whatever. Never got a chance to retrieve any of the barrels that were burned or anything for any kind of justification of things that were passed to me. I know cast iron skillet sounds stupid, but hey, when they're passed down from generations and things like that, it's nice to have them. You can refurbish those things, Other stuff, anyway. Stuff had been removed. It wasn't supposed to be removed according to the temporary injunction, but it was pointed at us about everything, but it obviously didn't apply to the other party, okay? So finally, in 11/7/22, it was non-suited. We had the paperwork on that. I mean, everything was dropped, so everything went away. The conflict went away. So that's where we're at. So that's up to speed. 11/22. Took me a little while to get everything together. I've been searching my heart. I've been trying to change my ways. I got kids and grandbabies here, and I'm trying to become a better person. But what I'm also trying to do is look out for the future of all of our kids and grandkids. And as long as we keep these people in office that are corrupt, and I mean, you're always going to have some favoritism. I understand things are going to happen, but man, when it's going on like this and innocent families are getting put through the ringer for others to benefit the way this situation's come about, I can't sit back and watch this no more. And I'm going to look out for everybody, but I'm trying to bring this attention to the people. I want everybody to understand why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to bring attention to you, the people, that we need to do a better job and be more diligent of electing our officials. Because at the end of the day, you could be in my shoes at some point, or your daughter, or your son, or your granddaughter, or grandson. They might be in the shoes that we've been in with people and acquaintances and things that steer things in a direction that's not. It's not justice. It's just not. And that's what this is all about. And like I said, I'm going to be pointing a lot of things out, but we do have elections coming up. They're coming up on us faster than we probably think. I mean, look how fast 22 went by. It went by fast, right? But this is what I'm doing this for. I'm going to probably get in some more issues with this, I'm sure. But, and there's other things I want to do. And this should get everybody up to speed. And I'm going to break it down after this. I'm going to start doing shorter videos, I hope. I've said that twice now. We're 33 minutes. But I want to just get everybody up to speed on what took place, where we're at, why I'm where I'm at, okay? I think it's time that somebody stands up. And I said in the beginning I was going to stand up. That's why I called it Courage for Accountability. And I want to see people be held accountable in this. I've already pointed out the wrongness in Rafferty, and I've still got some more stuff to bring up on that as we go. And that's where we're at. So everybody should be up to speed now. Watch this video. I know they're long. I know not everybody has 30 minutes to watch me gander on about stuff that may be irrelevant, but it's relevant. If you think about what I'm saying, this is all relevant, all right? So, hey, enjoy your evenings, mornings, whatever time you decide to watch this. Get subscribed. Read 1973 Read on YouTube. I'm gonna get some other stuff loaded up on there as well. So there's gonna be lots coming over the next few days. Just keep watching, keep subscribing, keep paying attention. Share. Take it with you somewhere. Share it with somebody. I need you to share it. I need people in Shelby County to know what my motivation is here. Okay, it's not to put It's not to bash people and make them look bad. It's to show the people of Shelby County that we need to do better in our voting. Much better, okay? Have a good evening. See everybody later.